Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
Oh, good day, how going? It's Phil Tarrant here, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. I hope you're well. Recording as we sort of firmly in the silly season, getting ready for the end of the year, and I've still got about, I think, 10 podcasts to record, but I've been looking forward to today's discussion. It's going to be quite wide-reaching, and I really enjoyed catching up with buyers agents, particularly those buyers agents who are relatively new to the sector, who have been attracted to property investment as a professional pathway. And you see a lot of it, property investors that really get hooked on property and want to go down the pathway of building a business, building their career in and around property investment. It's still a really new industry, to be fair, buyers agents, buyers agencies. They've been around for a little while, but really gaining a lot of traction as more and more Australians want to understand and appreciate the better ways to be investing in property and how it should be working. Yeah, it's good to see people who are attracted to this sector as a pathway for professional development. And when they get on it and get into it, I think for many buyers agents, as they choose the profession, it's going to be a lifetime endeavour. And as this sector grows, I think the number of buyers agents servicing Australian property investors in particular will continue to grow. So it's good to see that there is this groundswell of attracting new talent to the industry. And I think this industry is only as good as the talent that it can actually identify and bring into it. So good days ahead. But what I've found from different buyers agents that come from all walks of life, it's funny people's backstories, how they ended up doing what they're doing right now. Today's guest is a footy player, and I normally don't bring footy players onto the show because I don't really talk football. I'm not a big football person, more of a water sports type of guy, but I'm very considerate of the work that they do and the passion, dedication and the discipline that people who have engaged in professional sport to some degree have in terms of being goal-focused, goal-orientated, appreciate the need of hard work, resilience, repetition, training, doing stuff when they don't necessarily want to do it, despite the fact that it's good for them. And just the routine and discipline of getting the job done, I think will serve property investors well, teaming up with those type of people. And it certainly is a team sport. James Nelis, someone I think is going to be an exemplar in that regards. And I brought him in the studio to sort of see where he's going, what he's doing and how he's going to go about doing it. James, you well?
Yeah, well, thanks, Phil.
So sports person?
Yeah, sports person.
Professional first, sports person second?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So you played a bit of footy up in Brisbane, AFL, which I must admit I don't know a lot about.
That's fine.
I've been to a couple of AFL games, and I just didn't really sort of get it. I had a kick around once with the team because I can kick a ball, it wasn't a sport for me, but obviously a sport for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's a sport I've played since I was a kid, and had a real passion about it, and I guess played at the highest level you can outside of the AFL for a very long time. And I think, like a lot of kids growing up, you want to play at the elite level. But for me, to be able to play 15 years at the second tier level is something I'm really proud of. So
what is it about footy you enjoy? Was it the camaraderie and the team-based nature of it, which I know AFL a bit more than other sports sometimes. It's really collegiate.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that mateship and competitiveness that you're all working towards a common goal, which is ultimately to win a premiership with your teammates. But it's many of the lifelong lessons that you learn throughout that time, and I guess even how you can translate that to all walks of life, whether that's in your business life or in property investing. Yeah.
So you've chosen to become a buyer's agent, which is cool, and you've teamed up with InvestorKit, buyer's agency, and Arjun Paliwal, who's its founder and CEO, would be remiss of me not to say he was the buyer's agency of the year in 2023. He keeps telling me that, but I'm happy to give him a bit of a plug, James. Why'd you team up with Arjun? There's lots of organisations you can choose to sort of, join forces with. Why InvestorKit?
I think it's just the brand and the place that they're going. It seems it aligned a lot really well to me in terms of that team approach and where I'd come from a sporting background and a bit of competitive nature and trying to work collectively together to achieve a common goal, which was to help property investors build a portfolio.
Yeah, and you're Brisbane-based, Queensland-based?
Yeah, based in Brisbane, yeah.
Okay. Born and bred, you're not leaving there, just staying there?
No, I'm not leaving anytime soon. Just going to keep enjoying the warm weather up there and all the people that are moving there to enjoy the like-minded. I can't see myself leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, well, you're getting a lot of intrastate migration at the moment. People are still heading up there from Sydney and Melbourne post-pandemic, but it's always been normally retirees have headed up north. Now it's sort of more families, right? Who are changing that sort of generationally, one ahead of where they have traditionally gone up there and building it out, which is good for the local economy.
Yeah, absolutely. You're sort of starting to see probably your mid to early 20s, even your late teenagers moving up to go and study on the Gold Coast or live and see what Brisbane's like and experience something different.
So do you reckon university students that end up at Bond Uni or somewhere like
absolutely.
that, they're never leaving, right? They stay.
100%. They're coming up and they're sort of, I might go do 6 months up there or start my course up there or do a gap year, and then they just never leave. It's people you talk to up there, and it's even a few mates of mine from Melbourne have moved up, and then you've got their families moving up and then their parents, and it's all sort of a whole family from another state have all sort of moved up and don't really want to leave.
Yeah, and job prospects pretty good up there?
Yeah, really strong. Yeah. Like there's a lot of jobs going, particularly in that sort of Brisbane corridor, Gold Coast even, Sunshine Coast, so plenty of opportunity for people for work and build a career.
So there's no excuse not to excel in Brisbane?
No, absolutely not.
Should be getting paid by the local state government up there telling us, I don't know what do you still get adverts for move to Brisbane, move to Queensland?
I don't see them. You don't see them in Brisbane, that's for sure.
No, you don't see them in Brisbane. I'm just trying to... you've got the Olympics coming up. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sandy. Is everyone talking about it, or it's just one of those things now?
Oh, I think it was like about 18 months ago, or when it sort of first got announced. There's plenty of hype around it, but I reckon it sort of died off. And I think probably, 4 or 5 years' time, it'll sort of really
pick up again when things start happening. And look, you're going to need to attract people up to that state just to be able to mobilise a workforce. But, what does that mean? Well, this is a property investment show, so it's probably not bad for property investment.
Absolutely not.
So you got property, you're a property investor yourself?
Yeah, got a couple of properties in Queensland, so definitely probably looking at some wider areas in the future. But done really well despite a few issues and challenges along the way that I think are be pretty key for potentially listeners or people who are wanting to maybe get involved and see what it's all about. But definitely some knowledge that is shared.
Yeah, well, this is it, right? And having sort of speaking to a lot of buyers, agents, often their first role is untangling or fixing up poor investment decisions before people have gone to them. And I think it's a lot of realisation for a lot of people who have got a passion for property investment and start doing it, that they might not necessarily make the right decisions initially. And you don't know that until, you can look back and in hindsight. But fixing problems first so you can accelerate more favourable outcomes moving ahead. So it sounds like you were personally in that regards.
Yeah, personally.
So what happened?
So, I bought my first property nearly 10 years ago. I'd sort of worked and, through football and work, saved a bit of money to...
So you worked within the footy system as well, did you?
Yeah, I was working
your job.
Working in the football system, helping sort of grow the profile of AFL in northern suburbs of Brisbane and then obviously playing. So it's sort of living at home with mum and dad, started putting your money away and, working towards your first deposit and sort of got that together. And I sort of was of the line, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to go and rent and pay someone else's mortgage. I was like, why don't I, enter the property ladder and buy my first place? So I guess probably the first key learning I learnt, I went and bought about 2 kilometres around the corner from mum and dad where I'd grown up, which I learnt, through shows like this and books that probably not the wisest decision. But also had some challenges in terms of like the mortgage structuring. So when I went to acquire that property, I was sort of a bit short on the servicing. So the broker we spoke to at the time was like, okay, well, why don't we do a parental guarantee and, help you get in, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess due to a lack of knowledge, didn't really ask questions or push back on them as to like, well, how do we release that in the future? What's, the ups and downs, pros and cons of that? And presented some real challenges down the track when we went to fix it.
So the broker actually tied up your parents' property with your property.
Yeah.
So cross-collateralised them.
Yeah, tied up their investment property with my property.
Oh, so it was the investment property they tied up.
Yeah, okay. Tied that up and, just presented some challenges down the track, which was unfortunate, but it's all sort of worked out for the better for me in the end.
But you didn't know that at the point in time you went, brilliant. I've got a loan and ready to go. And your parents were happy to help you out?
Yeah, absolutely. They were more than happy to help me out because they they'd done well through, their investment property purchase, and they wanted, I guess, the same for me. And yeah, they'll definitely do the same for my sister down the track. So they, were very more than willing to help me out and get me going.
Do you have to have that awkward conversation with like, well, if you're going to do it for me, you've got to do it for the sister as well? Or is it just assumed, was it?
It was a bit of both, but I think like they're great people, so I know they would do the same thing for her and help her out. So.
Yeah. And did it matter, like the fact that you got that leg up? Like, what if you didn't get that? What would have it taken for you to do it without that support?
It probably just would have limited me, or I probably might not have even done it in general. I probably might have gone and just rented and, I guess, gone and spent that money on a holiday or a nice car or something like that. Like I didn't put it to. Probably wouldn't have put it to work for me. That's for sure.
And there's other ways. I think you don't necessarily, if your parents want to support you getting on the property ladder, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it. But it doesn't always mean they need to cross secure a property. Sometimes they can just act as guarantor.
Yep.
Which means that they'll say to the bank that if for whatever reason you can't pay your mortgage, you're responsible for it. So there are other ways. That you can do it. There's a lot of flexibility at the moment in regards to this, and I can't remember the stats, but a huge chunk of Australians now just to enter the property ladder get some sort of support from their parents. Like it's really normal.
Yeah, it's quite common and quite normal. So yeah, I'm extremely grateful for it. However, it's plenty of lessons and plenty of learnings to sort of take away from it.
So. This was 10 years ago, was it?
Yeah, just shy of 10 years ago, yeah.
So where'd you buy the property?
I bought it in Kalanga, so it's about 45 minutes north of the Brisbane CBD, near I guess, a building area of North Lakes, which is quite a big sort of suburb.
That's a big shopping centre and stuff, right?
Yeah. Sort of a bit of an economy surrounding that as well.
Is that the Bruce Highway goes through there?
Yeah, right along the edge of the Bruce Highway.
My bearings. My bearings right. So if you bought in Kalanga 10 years ago, you've done pretty well.
Yeah, but then I guess through learning and understanding of property markets and property cycles, probably realised that I didn't achieve any growth in that property till about 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And if I had have known what I know now in terms of general education about property cycles, probably could have gone and bought it in another state, e.g. such as a Hobart or something, for similar money that was about to enter its sort of growth cycle and ride that sort of growth, extrapolate the growth, and then go to Kalanga in 2018, 19 before it grows. And I'm in a further position, but again, you don't know what you don't know in hindsight.
You don't know what you don't know, and it sort of makes sense. You go, well, if you bought in Kalanga 10 years ago, you've got the upside of growth, but a lot of that growth has happened recently rather than back then. So missed opportunity to actually deploy that money elsewhere.
100%, but I still look at it and go, well, I look at my age profile. I'm still in a really strong position, so I'm not sort of knocking that in a way. But it's hindsight's a beautiful thing where you can reflect and go, if I did this, if I did that, and I guess ability to help other people learn is
well, it's good to have that
well.
bit of scar tissue as well, right? That way, when you're working with clients as a buyer's agent, buyer's advocate, you can actually, you know what it's like. You know,
100%.
And you don't want to work with someone who's only ever made mistakes are good. Mistakes are absolutely because you learn from mistakes. I bought a place up in Kalanga in probably 2017, 2018, I can't remember exactly the date. And even then I was like, oh, come on, these really aren't doing anything. Then they just went whooshka, you know, and, right place, right time.
Yeah, exactly right.
But, I use the buyer's agent to get that. So you still have that property?
Yep, still got it. Yep.
Yeah. Don't live in it?
No, don't live in it.
No,
I go along the rent vesting line now,
cool.
which is, serving a purpose really well and I guess helping me move my portfolio forward.
So you live where you want to live?
Yep.
So probably it's a bit more lively than Kalanga.
Yeah, so I live in Hendra.
Not giving Kalanga a hard time.
No, so live in Hendra, which is about 5 or 10 minutes from Brisbane CBD, around sort of Hendra, Ascot, Hamilton.
Okay.
Right near the airport. Yeah, really good spot and serves my lifestyle well. Access to the CBD, access to the highway, up and down the coast. So
you travel a lot for work now? You're getting around a bit?
Yeah, getting around a bit. It's good. It's good. Good starting to sort of get out to opens on weekends and that sort of thing, and see what's sort of going on and understanding the market a lot better.
And for InvestorKit, having sort of boots on the ground now in Brisbane, I imagine is a real asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly with what's going on, like we were saying about the Olympics and those sort of things in the future, and sort of building that awareness for InvestorKit in Brisbane.
Yeah, so you're mainly sort of concentrating on that Brizzy market.
Yeah,
so that's going to be your. Yeah. But where do you like at the moment? Let me in some of the secrets.
Yeah, we're still liking that sort of Toowoomba region as well.
Okay.
Like I think that's sort of, and I know personally for me it's sort of done well. Like we're sort of probably in that.
You got property in Toowoomba?
Yeah, got property in Toowoomba as well. So sort of probably like that as well for future. yeah, that's probably
This is the sort of thing where Arjun would say, go and download the reports from InvestorKit.com.au.
Exactly.
Right? Which there's heaps of it, right? Which is really cool. So you're happy with the career decision? Moving into property investment?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think being, like I sort of said at the top, as a property investor, it's kind of a bit of a natural sort of progression. You build an interest, you build a passion, similar like you do with sport. You want to work in it, you want to thrive in it, consume it. And it's sort of a bit of a natural progression. When you start to learn, you make some mistakes and you go, okay, well, I want to help people like-minded not make the same mistakes that I've made and, do what I've done minus the lessons that I've learned and try and help them get there quicker.
And when you decoupled this property, you refinanced it all. Did you have to tell me about the loan structure? Was it fixed? Was it variable?
Yeah.
Was there any penalties or anything like that?
Yeah, so it was fixed at the time. So after probably 3 or 4 years, I sort of fell into that rent vesting side of things, like we said, and got some advice at the time and a bit of commentary around the media that rates are really low, the lowest they've sort of been, and decided to fix the loan, to fix it for 5 years. Honestly, don't really know why. So then
But I bet you they said, well, you're going to be certain that what you have to pay for 5 years is going to be the same all the time. But you're probably paying overs by a fair bit.
Yeah, probably paying overs, and then you look at it and then you look at what happened with the rate cycle. It went down and it just kept being lowest rates in history, lowest rates in history, lowest rates in history.
Did you look at it and just go, did it annoy you? You left it?
I look back now and I go, really silly.
Yeah.
Uneducated decisions that has sort of cost me. And then, when I sort of started to realise and understand, that Clanker property is starting to grow and build equity and what you can actually do with equity for wealth building purposes, I was like, okay, right, well, maybe I need to try and release some equity. So went and had a chat to a couple of mortgage brokers and they're like, okay, well, you need to, there's going to be a cost incurred around.
You got to break
the fixed rate.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's quite a bit. It was about like 13 grand at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, that's quite a bit of money. And then one broker I sort of spoke to, he specialised in investment loans and structuring investment portfolios. And he brought me across the concept of opportunity cost. And he sort of said, look, yes, you're going to have to incur this break fee of around 13,000, but if you break that fee in 6 months' time, you'll be able to release that equity and then we'll be able to go and redeploy that in another asset and you'll essentially be able to double your asset base by the time that your fixed term was about to expire. And I sort of took a day or two to reflect on that and I was like, oh, I think that's a bit of a no-brainer. So, pulled the trigger on that and did that. And, about, I think it was midway through the settlement of a new purchase when that fixed term was meant to expire and, had essentially doubled my asset base in that period of time. Yeah.
Well, again, it's these are lessons learned that hopefully you can help other people avoid moving forward.
100%. And that's, I guess you look at, rates in that regard. And I guess for me, I was in that acquisition phase, so that building. So for me, really the rate should have been the last thing on my mind. I shouldn't have been so rate focused early. I should have been worrying about, right, well, do I need to move from A to B to C lender to help me access the money that I need to do to help build my portfolio? Whereas if I had have accumulated my base of my properties, then maybe fixing the rates might be the right idea if that's what I wanted. But obviously I wasn't in that position and, again, lack of understanding.
Yeah, and if you're a property investor, new to property investment, sort of your asset selection is more than just where you're buying and what you're buying. It's what you're going to do with it in time. And if you're trying to find growth assets, even in interest rate periods which are softer than what they are right now, but if you're trying to identify growth assets that you can extract equity from, if you're fixing your rates, you're never going to be able to extract that out. It's just impossible. So, even if fixed rates, I've had this in my portfolio many, many times, even if fixed rates are lower, you're still happy to pay a premium on your interest rates by being variable to give you choice to do what you want to do. If you want to refinance it, you might want to split a block, you might want to develop it, you might want to sell it. You still got problems if it's fixed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing, like the rates obviously ended to track down and down and down. So you stay at that sort of fixed rate, it's impacting your cash flow.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait till rates are back to 2.7%. I don't think we'll ever see them again.
I don't think so either.
It's a period of time. I hope you made hay while the sun was shining. I want to talk about sort of becoming this pivot to being a buyer's agent. We'll just go to a quick break. Stay with us, everyone. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Phil Tarrant from Smart Property Investment with James Nelis. He's from InvestorKit up in Brisbane. Now, tell me about the day when you went, stuff it, I'm going to be a buyer's agent.
I think
tell me about the decision making with that.
Well, I think for me, it was kind of like realising, well, what's the next sort of career opportunity? and chatting with a few sort of mentors and wanting to help build my portfolio, needed to, I guess, sort of start to think about increasing serviceability, higher wages to be able to get access to loans and those sort of things. So it was kind of like, okay, what are your interests? Well, footy, I'm getting later in the career, can't really progress down the professional line. I'm interested in this property sort of game. So what career opportunities are there for me? And I sort of went through the list. It was like selling agent, property manager, mortgage broker, or this new thing called a buyer's agent. I was like, okay, well, that sounds interesting. I've just, purchased a property in Toowoomba using a buyer's agent. And I was like, okay, that was really good. I didn't have to go out to Toowoomba every weekend to look at
Who did you use? Did you use InvestorKit?
No, I didn't use InvestorKit.
Okay,
No,
there you go.
no, yeah.
Don't tell me who it was.
No,
but
it's
you
just
didn't use InvestorKit.
No, I didn't use InvestorKit. So not a client that's now become a staff member like a few others. So. But yeah, so went through that process and I was like, oh, this is really useful. And I chatted to a few friends. I was like, oh, have you heard of this? Have you heard of a buyer's agent? They're like, oh, no, never heard of them. And what do they do? And I sort of explained it. They're like, oh, okay, that's quite handy. So sort of, I guess, started chatting to a few people and, putting contacts together and networking people with the right people to help them do what they needed to do. And I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe this is something I could do and I have a passion for it. So went and started networking with some people in the industry and started getting the right qualifications and the tickets and started, I guess, helping friends and family, and sort of one thing's led to another. It's sort of, now become a bit of a career prospect for me.
And now you got your own website and everything. What is it?
JamesNelis.com.au.
How do you spell Nelis?
Nelis.
Neils. There you go. Go and check it out. So this is you now.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
So it'd be obvious, or knowing a fair bit about sport, professional sport, an obvious audience of people that could probably do with your help would be sports people.
Yeah.
Who are, to my earlier sort of remarks, professional sports people that play sport at elite levels are wired a particular way, which makes them very good at being good at sport, but sometimes don't make the best investment decisions.
No.
So you're going to try and tap into that market, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I probably will preface that I wasn't a professional athlete. However, for me, playing at a semi-elite level, working a 9-to-5 job, training multiple times a week, playing against professional athletes that weren't playing in the top level. I have a lot of mates that have been at the professional level, had a lot of teammates that have come down from the professional level and played with them. I have a really good understanding of the challenges that they went through and their navigations post-career, and a bit of hindsight from them. Plus, being in a sporting background, being in a team environment, I can understand how that will benefit them in terms of their wealth creation journey and what they might want to do. And
it gives them a sense, like professional athletes playing footy, say in the AFL, like what sort of dough would an average player be making a year? Yeah, so you look at some average stats that are available to the general public through the AFL Players Association, and then it was reported that $400K was the average salary of an AFL player in 2022. Okay, and that's a fair bit of money. It's a fair bit of money, and I guess you even strip it right back. Like you look at the AFL draft a few weeks ago, like their initial salary from day one, if you're an 18, 19-year-old top prospect, is about $100K in your first year, and you've got about a 2 to 3 year deal. So you're 18, 19 years old, and you're already 2 times income probably of people similar age, and you just get thrust into this environment where you've got surplus income, lots of choice, plenty of time to do things. So no better way to spend your extra time and money than in property. Yeah, and I think what coaches and staff like to do is try and keep their teams busy on and off the field. Absolutely. And footy players with too much time on their hands and too much money can find themselves in trouble, and sometimes you see them on the front page of the paper. So, trying to keep it informed and educated and busy, and they obviously do a lot of work with kids and stuff, and really important work trying to grow the game, and but they often make really poor, and I'm generalising here, really poor investment decisions. And you're saying that you see people sort of, playing at elite level, they might want to do some, still enjoy playing footy and stuff, but they probably never really realise the wealth they could have created during those peak periods of their games, or they've made bad decisions, they've put money in the wrong things, they've been ill-advised. Does it happen more than you think? Happens quite a bit, and I guess you look at it as well, like there's quite a high risk of players getting injured, and then they have a really severe injury that they cannot recover from, and then their careers get cut short because of an injury they've incurred, and then within that couple of year period, they're back out in the big wide world that
then they haven't really been able to capitalise on that extra earning potential to really set themselves up. And a big challenge that a lot of players go through is they exit the system, because the average player exits the system around 25 years old. So really they're still
25 years
25.
old.
So they're still quite young in retrospect to career. So if they haven't capitalised on that earning potential to set themselves up, because then they're going from, say for argument's sake, like we're saying, 400,000 or even 300, 200 back to, the general Australian income of 80 to 100,000. That's a big shift in your earning power and a big mindset shift that they need to go through. So if you can leverage through property to be able to make some decisions, pay down some debt, you can then potentially create yourself a bit of a passive income to be able to support rebuilding and starting again at that lower income until you can build yourself forward.
It's such a moment in time to earn. So you're young, it's a moment in time of earning big biggies, and you got to make sure you manage that correctly. And I know a lot of players, when they stop playing for whatever reason, either they're not as good as what they could have been, or they get injured, or otherwise. There's real challenges with a sense of purpose as well. You know, like it's a bit lost. Yeah,
absolutely.
I was someone or something. Now I'm just trying to get by on a lot less money, and on a building site, labouring, right? Like it happens all the time. So you get this chance, and I know a lot of players, irrespective of the sport, tune into this because they're sitting there thinking they're either at the gym, doing weights, or having a run, and they're tuning into podcasts. So I think what clubs are doing these days, and clubs being, it's irrespective of the sporting or the code. They know and appreciate that it's incumbent on them to not only look after their players to make sure they're as fit as possible and playing as well as possible, but they're looking after their mental health. They're also looking after their financial health, and they're doing a lot more education. Have you had an opportunity to get in front of sort of any players yet and start chatting through the benefits of property investment? Yeah,
I've had a bit of a chat through a few sort of contacts that I know sort of in the industry, and particularly inside of like the women's sport, the women's AFL space. It's becoming quite a large building profile.
It's a huge groundswell with female AFL.
Absolutely. And I guess even in that space, a few contacts sort of in there and just educating them, and they want to get involved in property and see what that's like. But how they need to get there is again a big gap in the knowledge and big gap in where they could potentially go and what they could potentially do with property.
Yeah, so what would your recommendations to those people sort of who have chosen sport as a profession, which is a moment in time? Yeah, if you're really good, you might become a commentator, but doesn't really happen very often. How do you make hay?
I think probably being really clear on your strategy is going to be really key. And I think something that the professional athletes sort of deal with, particularly in the AFL space, they have that risk of being traded at the end of each year, and maybe they need to move interstate. So going down the owner-occupier line might not be for them, and really understanding your strategy and probably considering that rent vesting line as something that they can do and really build a portfolio out, and probably build it out quickly due to their higher income, being in a rental as opposed to an owner-occupier, and buying a $2-3 million mansion or something like that. Maybe split that up into a few purchases to build your asset base to set you up post-career.
Yeah, that's a really smart way to do it, because it is transient.
Gives you flexibility. Gives you flexibility if you get drafted to a Queensland club and you're from Melbourne, but you probably know that maybe you're not going to be there for the rest of your life. So maybe instead of purchasing an occupied property, you go and buy a couple of purchases, and then if you get traded back to Melbourne or your career ends and you want to relocate, you can sort of do that quite quickly, and you're not sort of stuck.
You're not stuck, and what happens though, you normally find one of the sort of more senior players will buy a nice big house somewhere and then rent out the rooms to all the guys. And it's part of the I'm talking sort of more, it's probably irrespective of the sport, but say footy, because then, they keep an eye on the younger players.
Generosity
It's all part of the culture of the game, right? Which is cool, but it might not necessarily be the best place to buy a nice waterfront on a canal in Gold Coast. Might not be the best investment. Might be fun for a couple of years while you're playing footy there, but you've got to offload that. You might not get the upside that you need. So you can actually use the transient nature of sport to actually build a diversified property portfolio.
Use it to your advantage and utilise key people around you. And as we sort of said, they might have a lot of time, but they probably don't have a lot of time on the weekend to be hitting open homes and making calls to agents. So outsource it to people who do it every day will really help you and set you up for the future.
Yeah, and what we're chatting about here is really consistent with people in the military. And I've sort of spoken about this before. It's very similar, very transient jobs. You don't know where you're going to get posted and for how long. Probably like being part of a footy team, they probably feed you as well. You probably can save a lot of money.
Your
save in the
overheads
military.
Overheads are probably pretty low, which gives you that increased servicing capacity. And I guess if you're smart with your choices and smart with your money, you can really, I guess, set yourself up and still enjoy the fruits of your labour post-career, into your future, provide for your family, etc. And a lot of people and a lot of players have done it, but I guess it's just not widely spoken about, and I think we just want to bring some awareness to it.
Well, I think it's a nice place for you to focus. There's a lot of players out there that probably need the support. Let me know how you go with that. And you think a lot of sports people tune into this podcast, so don't waste your money. Spend it wisely. Don't.
Think about your future.
Think about your future. Don't buy fancy. It's just drive an old bomb into the the other guys might have fancy Range Rovers and stuff in a car park. That's might be good for a little while, but put your money in assets that are going to do the work for you. And when your playing career comes to an end, it's going to give you a lot more choice, not only in terms of your financial capacity for generating income, but it might even give you some professional choices. I know a lot of sports people will choose property.
Yeah, they do.
They choose property as a play, or finance as well, as a place, because they're generally good with people and chat with people, and they normally have really, really good networks.
100%. It's the same thing. They want to bring more awareness to it because it's just not widely spoken about, and there's a lot of people out there that sort of try to take advantage of sports people and even just get bad advice from parents and family and sort of do this, do that, and it doesn't really help them, and they might make quite considerable money and they've got nothing to really show for it. Yeah,
that's good. Oh, it's well considered. So go and do that. We're going to have another break, James. When we come back, I just want to understand where you're going with your profession as a buyer's agent. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back, Phil Tarrant from Smart Property Investment. Now, James, so you've chosen this as the pathway.
Yep.
Sounds like you're all in.
Yep.
Using, sporting analogy around training and discipline and upskilling and perpetual improvement, what are you doing to be constantly a better buyer's agent tomorrow than what you were today?
I think for me, it's that continued reviewing of what you're actually doing and understanding the strategies that are involved to sort of help people build a portfolio and translate that to myself, plus also understanding the right markets to put clients into, understanding the research, how that all sort of fits together, and connecting everyone with the right people, surrounding them with the right team to build and work towards the goals that they need to get to.
So you're sort of working with good mortgage brokers, for example. So you're well connected up in Brisbane to sort of support clients with all that sort of interconnected professional support and services. Yeah,
absolutely. Definitely got a really strong network of people that I've used myself or been recommended to be able to help provide people and deliver on their goals and their needs that they need to get them to their ultimate outcome.
Yeah, and from what I understand, chatting with Arjun Paliwal from InvestorKit, is that InvestorKit buyers agents get to draw on some pretty considerable capabilities inside of InvestorKit by way of research and client servicing and all that sort of back engine stuff. So you draw on all of that as well. So you're getting all the benefits of that.
Yeah, draw on the mountain of research from the research team and where they believe off their data that is the right places to be in for the right time to move the client's portfolio forward.
And any particular areas of Brizzy that you sort of really like at the moment?
Yeah, we really like the regions. They're still really strong, and I guess it's widely spoken about that supply is pretty tight. So even us who are doing it professionally are missing out on offers all the time. So supply is pretty tight, particularly in all areas.
How you going working with real estate agents? It's a big part of the craft or art of being a buyer's agent, really good agent relationships. You're stuck in there, you're pretty well known by them now.
Yeah, starting to sort of...
They take your phone calls?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
That's a start.
It's good. And I guess it's part and parcel. Like it's, both sides of the transaction want to get a deal done, and understanding that, there's going to be ups and downs in terms of relationships. But, building, I guess, leaning back on my football experience, like you work in a team and there's multiple people within a team, and it'd be pretty boring if we're all the same person and we didn't get along. So it's sort of being able to draw from that experience to be able to build relationships with agents and partners really quickly to be able to, I guess, get an outcome for everyone's client who's involved in the transaction.
Yeah, it's important. You still playing footy socially?
Just finished up this year.
Okay.
Sort of come to an end. Sort of done quite a bit on the footy front, and I was like, look, this is definitely something I want to, I guess, replace that time with, and draw from that experience and really put all my eggs into this basket and see where it could go.
So if we sort of fast forward 5 years and we catch up, well, what's going to be different from today, do you think, with you?
Yeah, I think it's sort of probably building my own personal brand within that InvestorKit team and being supported by them, and I guess enjoying the journey that they're going on, because they're really going places and doing really good things too.
Yeah, it's a good outfit, and doing things, really smart operators. And I guess I'll sort of conclude with this question: is that, how do you, like sports people, you got to keep yourself accountable. How do you keep yourself accountable? How do you measure success in your role now as a buyer's agent?
I think it's in being client focused. So not necessarily worrying about how many clients I'm working with, it's how we're doing quality deals for our individual client and making sure that that's fitting their portfolio and helping them achieve their goals, which again, I draw back from football, because I've got my own individual goals, but then, players within a team have their own individual goals. So for me, as a leader of my footy club, was to work with those players to help them get to where they want to get to. And transversely, same thing with clients, it's helping educate them, build them, and move them along in their particular journey to get to their own individual goals, which again are collective and probably align with mine at the same time.
Yeah, and sounds like the season's just rounded up, but your teammates, they go, James is going to talk to us property again. I'll go away, mate. Are you the property guy now?
Yeah, I sort of built a bit of a brand as like the property guy. Guys sort of, give me a ring or have a chat to me at training, and sort of pick my brain about it. So they're
now you can start charging them a fee, right? but no doubt you've already seen, and you must get satisfaction out of it. Where you actually someone, they're curious and they start chatting with you, but then they choose to do something about it and get the upside. You must get satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's probably where I get the most satisfaction. And even working with clients and seeing them acquire something and the satisfaction they have when they settle on a property, it's like takes you back to when you make a purchase and how you feel individually. You sort of put yourself in their shoes and you're like, okay, I've still, the passion's there, and what you're achieving, you want them to achieve, and sort of do it together.
Yeah, that's good, mate. Well, congratulations getting out and doing it, mate. Yeah. It's really good. I look forward to watching your career. So people want to track you down. What's the best way?
Yeah, just probably to head over to my website, jamesnelis.com.au.
Yeah. What does it say on that? So a nice picture of you and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, nice picture. A bit more of an insight into sort of my story and sort of what I've sort of been through in terms of property, and I guess how I can sort of help them sort of craft a strategy and work towards their common goal and work our way back to get them to where they need to get to.
And is the idea that you really want to sort of concentrate on Brizzy client base?
Yeah. Sort of start to build that Brizzy client base, and I guess help athletes and educate them in and around what they can do with their money and build wealth for the future.
Well, there's a lot of athletes that need that support, so that's where I'll be starting. Thanks for coming in. Really appreciate you making the trip down and having a yarn to us, and we'll certainly keep in touch and connected. And James is drawing on that engine that is InvestorKit. So again, Arjun, give me a phone call if I don't mention it. But if you go over there to InvestorKit, he's got heaps of research here. He's he gives it all away. Some really good, insightful stuff there. So go and check it out. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Social media, you find us Smart Property HQ. We'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.